Hi, I'm Rashida Mitchell, and this is my video on interpersonal communication. I just like to talk with you about what interpersonal communication means to me, and I'll do that through sharing some things about myself. And we're going to hit some topics on my overarching goal, my behavior and background, my behavior blend and background, communication barriers, resources and strategies, my action plan, and conclusion. First, what is interpersonal communication? It is a process by which people exchange information, feelings, and meaning through nonverbal and verbal messages. What does it take? In my opinion, it takes commitment, skills, and strategy. Welcome to my view of what interpersonal communication is. As I've already told you, a couple of topics that we're going to cover. First, let me start with my overarching goal. It is to touch the lives of people by connecting with them, being able to share my life's experiences, and provide a welcoming place for others to self-disclose to the point that Christ is their source. They recognize him as their source. Let me start with my background. I come from a very loving, interactive, fun, family-oriented background, which I think made me to be outgoing and someone who loves to interact with people. However, at some point in my life, I began to relate to the all or nothing syndrome, which was mentioned in the book that one of our books that we read. As a matter of fact, the all or nothing syndrome was touched on by Stewart, and the denial and exaggeration are two of the topics of all or nothing syndrome. I relate it more to exaggeration, which deals with the fact that what other people project and their thoughts and opinion become the solely valid information that we believe about ourselves. And I think that shifted my background a little bit so that my communication style somewhat changed. My behavior blend, I was unable to take the Uniquely Yours assessment, so my behavior blend came from the communication styles assessment. And with that means that I am an achiever supporter. And I think that that pretty much describes me because I can be task oriented. And sometimes that is looked at as negative because I can shut people out if I'm focused on a task. And especially if I become frustrated with their actions, instead of me dealing with the issue, I will shut people out. Um, and so that's not necessarily a good thing when we're trying to focus on having effective interpersonal communication. We're maintaining healthy relationships. So that's not necessarily something that I want to do. So this is important to me to get better. Okay, some of the communication barriers that I actually have faced. There are plenty, but there's some that I have faced. And let me first just start with the questions that I asked, and that is, what is keeping me from maintaining healthy relationships? What is keeping me from getting my point across? Why is he or she offended when I meant no harm? Some of that is because of communication barriers. My particularly interpersonal communication barriers were the feeling versus thought. The feeling versus thought was something very important, something very key that I tuned into. They're two different ideas, and at times, sometimes we believe that a certain action is something that causes us to be withdrawn. We may think a certain thing, but that's not actually the case. So I feel a certain way, then I begin to think that way, but my feeling maybe wasn't right. So the next thing is silence. Uh, Sometimes it has been that silence is just awkward. And I felt like, okay, well, here she is not listening. And I've also been on the flip side of it, me feeling like I had to do a lot of talking to let them know that I'm listening. But the more that I read and understand, silence is okay. Improper listening. A mindful listener is a very good listener. Being able to focus on what is being said to you, and being able to be attentive. That's a very good thing. Some ways to prevent communication barriers is to be an active listener. You do not talk over yourself, you do not talk about yourself, you do not change the subject, you do not give advice. You just really want to be tuned into listening. And I got this from one of my articles read by Simonescu, and that may not be pronounced right, however, it is in my notes. So some resources and strategies. Some resources and strategies that I felt were helpful to me were the textbooks. The textbooks were amazing. All four of them. The Listening, the Forgotten Skill, a self-teaching guide, How to Solve the People Puzzle, Understanding Personality Patterns, Why We Don't Listen Better, Bridges Not Walls, a book about interpersonal communication. Awesome books. They are excellent because I can refer back to them. Whenever I have an issue or a certain type of situation, whether it is talking about conflict, um, I can go back to my books. The assessments were also helpful. I say that because oftentimes we go day in and day out, and we're just so used to being who we are, or a routine, that we don't pay attention to some things that are actually there. Okay, so the assessments, in a nutshell, just bring out some things about ourselves that we don't necessarily see on a daily basis. So that was good. The other resource and strategy is mindfulness. Being mindful, one of those that was a topic that really touched home with me. Being a multitasker, a mom, student, supervisor, and the list goes on. Being mindful can be difficult, but I see in communication how necessary it is. So it is a strategy. It is a very good resource that I will be dealing with. The talker listener card, awesome. I can just see myself with that in front of me when I am looking to convey a point and to be on point when it comes down to having good communication and let each person know that their opinions are valid. My action plan is to seek God and His Spirit first, His discerning spirit, because God can reveal all things. My next thing is to deal with the truth. Be bold, be free, be truthful, dealing with the truth about who I am and what the person is telling me, rather than what I'm hoping or what I wish they were saying, I guess. And also the assessments. The assessments really intrigue me. I love reading about myself, some hidden things that I may not have noticed before. And I just think that other people will find that same interest. So what I'm looking forward to doing is maybe using some assessment with some of my family, some of my friends. Those people that are actually interested. I don't plan to force it upon them, but those that are interested, I think it'll be a good idea. My quote that kind of summarizes: a good person produces good words from a good heart, and an even evil person produces evil words from an evil heart. And I tell you this, that you must give account on Judgment Day on every idle word spoken. This is found in Matthew chapter 12, verse 35 through 37. I have numerous of references. I hope that you find that there is some understanding with how important that interpersonal communication is to me. Very, very, very needed in our relationships, especially as someone that is a Christian that's out to win souls for Christ. And Jesus is so amazing, and I just want to be better at what I do. Thank you. Have a great one.